Cesar Chavez was the co-founder of United Farm Workers, the fruit pickers, produce pickers, and he was obviously Hispanic and left-wing, very left-wing. And he believed, like almost all liberals did up until very recently, that tight labor markets served working people. In other words, the more employers had to compete for labor, the higher the wages were, the more average people benefited. That is true. It's an economic truth. And so he believed that the growers, the businesses, the employers had an incentive to increase the amount of illegal immigration into the country so they could lower their labor costs. It's really simple. He was joined in this by every liberal of his age. He marched across the state of California in 1969, the year I was born, with Ralph Abernathy. The Reverend Ralph Abernathy was MLK's chief aide, and Walter Mondale, the senator from Minnesota, who later ran for vice president, ran for president in 1980. Mainstream liberals agreed with him. In 1979, Cesar Chavez dispatched union members to the Sonoran Desert of the Mexico border with whips made of barbed wire and clubs to beat Mexican immigrants as they came across the border. Why? Because he hated Mexicans? Of course not. He was Mexican-American. No, but because he cared about the wages of his workers, his union members. This was the view. Almost all, in fact, I would say all that I'm aware of our anti-immigration, immigration restrictionist legislation from, 1900 up until yesterday, all of them got there because of support from organized labor. And about 10 years ago, the Democratic Party decided it no longer cared about organized labor, that it was dying, that it was taking the side of employers over employees, the rich over the middle class. And they reframed the issue as a tribal one, as a matter of racial identity. And so if you are worried about slack labor markets and lower pay for your employees, you're a racist. It's insane. And the Republicans bought into it because they were, of course, traditionally on the side of employers. And so left undefended was the entire American middle class. And guess what? As illegal immigration levels rose, wages for American-born workers stagnated. Again, this is not speculation. There's been a lot of academic research on this. If you have more people willing to work for less, wages decline. It's supply and demand. And yet the left ignores it. Here are the numbers you need to understand. Yale University released a study last week by 3 researchers, all of them liberal, I believe, who concluded that the actual number of illegal aliens in this country is not 11 million. It's north of 22 million. 22 million. Fact 1. Fact 2. The Democratic Party is now, as a matter of policy, calling for the legalization of all illegals in this country. Citizenship, voting rights. 22 million new voters. Fact 3. The overwhelming majority of first-time immigrant voters vote Democrat. Fact 4. The largest margin in American presidential history was 17 million votes. 1984 election between Mondale and Reagan. 17 million. You would add to our voter rolls 22 million at least. Permanent electoral majority in perpetuity. That's what this is about. It's not about making the country better, serving our labor needs, helping the population. It's about putting Democrats in power forever. That is the truth of our immigration debate, period.
Are you saying they're not all becoming Ron Paul voters?
It's insane. It's actually insane. And by the way, and there are all sorts of other unintended consequences, or perhaps intended consequences, but if you're going to bring in tens of millions of people into your country, for the sake of the country, you want them to buy into whatever the ideas are upon which your country is founded. You want to integrate them into your society, and that means making sure we speak a common language and that we have common values. Not that we have common ethnicity or religion, but that we have a common understanding of what it means to be an American, and that we can communicate with each other, and we're bound together in a common culture. That idea has been under attack by the left for a generation.